this.
Yeah.
So for AEW, Bob, instead of saying how disappointed we are in some things in AEW, how you still wish CM Punk was there and they would have built on the feud that they had built in there, instead I wanted to play a little game with you because
Okay.
AEW is about 5 years old now, going on 6 years old. And way back when we saw the YouTube videos, and oh my goodness, they're starting another promotion, this rebel aura about them, the answer to WWE, all the carnival stupid shit that Vince McMahon is pulling is gone. We're going to have real wrestling back again, Bob. It's going to be a joyous, joyous time.
Yeah.
And when you close your eyes now, 5 to 6 years later, and you think of the name AEW, what wrestler, wrestlers, promotion, voice, what person pops into your head? Who embodies AEW the most? Whether they're still there, whether they're on this all-in card, whether they're not there at all, whether they haven't been used in years. Who embodies AEW the most to you and to me? We're going to draft a few names here, go back and forth. It's not really building our best AEW roster, I would say, but it's more who is AEW? Who bleeds AEW? Is it guys that used to be in WWE? Is it homegrown products themselves? Is it people that, again, just are sitting at home with their feet up like Ricky Starks? I don't know who's going to make this list, but who to you embodies AEW, and where are we now in Tony Khan's promotion just 5 to 6 years later, hinging on a new television deal, hinging on all these new opportunities coming out, HBO Max, all these stupid things that we've heard rumored, and yet we're still in the place we are right now. Bob, do you understand the adventure we're about to go on here?
I think so. I'm ready to read off a name, but we can talk about this. If we're doing a quick, brief state of AEW here, we're talking about they're going into their WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
This is their biggest show of the year. And we host a wrestling podcast, and we email each other all the time trying to think of topics. We're having a hell of a time with AEW right now, and they're heading into their biggest show of the year. So that's why we're doing this. That's the undercurrent here. We're trying to find things to make AEW exciting. Well, it shouldn't be work for us. We should just be reacting to things that they give us, and we're not really getting that. We're not getting the AEW tag titles defended for months until last night. Okada is finally going to be defending his Continental Championship. We'll talk about all that, but yeah, just that's why we're doing this draft, because AEW is heading into their biggest show of the year, and we got shit to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know how long this draft is going to go. I got about 20 to 22 names that I've written down that I think embody AEW, and Okada did not make the list. And I love Okada. Listen, it's, again, I'm not building my promotion here. I'm not building my dream card here. Okada's awesome, but his run in AEW has done nothing to me to resemble what AEW is. Like, he's done literally nothing in that company, and he's been there for quite some time now. Mercedes Moné, also not on my list. What has she done for this company so far? Again, a little bit early in that stretch. So, Bob, I'm going to give you first pick because I got a feeling I got a stronghold on some of the people that I believe embody AEW. But out of all the entities out there, what is the first name that pops into your head when you think AEW?
Yeah, how I decided on this pick was literally, you said close your eyes, first name that comes to your head that embodies AEW. To me, it's Darby Allin. That's a lot. He is AEW to me for all that's good and all that's bad. We could die every match, or he could put on an excellent match every match. That's AEW to me. Someone might die, or it might be 5 stars. That sums up everything. So Darby Allin to me is Mr. AEW, homegrown. I don't ever want to see Darby Allin in WWE. I always want Darby Allin to be in AEW, suspending from wires, jumping off stage, doing all his goofy shit, because that's him. That's who he is, and that's AEW. They're the rebels, and he's the face of AEW. One of the 4 pillars, the main pillar, I would say, Darby Allin. It was my first pick.
I hear you on that. That's a surprising first pick. He's definitely on my list, not near the top of the list, but I fully buy what you're saying. He does embody AEW, and at no point do you ever see him in WWE. No. It wouldn't make sense. I get that. Hey man, I think that's a great pick by you. Also, let's talk about Darby right now. We're talking about building to All In. If he's your first pick for AEW, if he embodies AEW the most, what do you think about the state of him right now heading into this WrestleMania for AEW?
Oh, what's he doing? A coffin match against Jack Perry? Is what that is that what that is?
It's at least it's not a set on fire match.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Jack Perry is also on my list. I didn't name him yet. To be sure,
he's on my short list too. Yeah.
Yeah, he deserves to be on the list. So they're the two of the four pillars. As much as I disdain what happened with Jack Perry and CM Punk, I don't hate Jack Perry as a person, and I think he would be a great pick when you pick him or I pick him later in this draft. What's
Well,
your
my
pick?
next pick when it comes to embodying AEW, and I thought for sure you were going to go with this guy as your first overall pick because this to me is what made me excited to watch AEW in the first place, and that's Kenny Omega. We
Yeah,
heard rumor about Kenny Omega and New Japan. We saw some of the Wrestle Kingdom matches that he put on, some of this awesome stuff. And I mean, unless you were knee deep in New Japan stuff, you just kind of saw him as a big bout guy and put on amazing shows, but you didn't know the greatness that he was week in and week out until he came to AEW. And when he is healthy and when he is in the ring, it doesn't matter who he's fighting, Bob. He could be, and he's done it before. He's fought inanimate objects and made
yeah,
it spectacular wrestling. He is exactly what AEW should be. He's not the world's best talker. He's not the world's most coherent person, but in the ring, and when AEW matters is what happens in the ring, there is no one on this earth better than Kenny Omega. And to me, if I'm thinking about AEW, the first person that pops into my head is that weird man Kenny, because he is an awkward fellow, but he is
yeah.
awesome
It's very
as a
strange.
wrestler. Kenny Omega is definitely my first pick. I say we're starting off very hot with this AEW. Who is AEW draft? Darby Allin has sort of the spirit, and Kenny
Yeah.
Omega is sort of the alpha. So who's your second pick?
Well, I'm going because she's one of my favorite characters, and she's former AEW
A
Women's
she.
Champion. Yeah, I'm taking Tony Storm second,
Oh,
and I'm building around her because I think she's the face of that division. And you don't let her go back to WWE. Whatever you can do, and her character, her timeless Tony Storm character, should forever be an AEW creation. I don't want to see a knockoff in WWE in 2 years. Keep Tony Storm in AEW. Have her be the face of the women's division. She left WWE because they had her Charlotte throw a pie in her face. They didn't know how to use Tony Storm when they had her, so keep her in AEW. She's excelling there. That's my second pick. I just think,
Bob.
honestly, I think she has like the best, like biggest name value out of most with them. Go ahead, but yeah, that's
No,
what.
I love Tony Storm and
Yeah,
Timeless Tony Storm, and I'm sad to say I had 3 girls on my list of 20 here. Tony Storm was not one of them.
wow. Oh,
And I
I feel
truly
good.
enjoy Tony Storm.
I
I
feel good about
truly
my
enjoy
pick.
Tony Storm. This is
Yeah,
nothing against her. I love the Timeless Tony Storm gimmick. For some reason, that didn't pop into my head when I was thinking about AEW. Maybe it would have if I thought about it longer, but there were other women that got there
yeah,
first. But I'm
makes
not
sense.
I'm not holding this pick against you. I'm just saying I'm surprised that that's the first name that's come up that I did not have on my list, and I figured
Yeah,
I'd have all of the people Bob had. Bob, second name I got to go to you, and this is a tie between the two of them, but I'm going with this one just because of the controversy around it. It's Cody Rhodes. When
oh
I think
wow.
AEW, I think about Cody Rhodes. And
Still,
Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega together started this thing with another group of people that have yet to be named. And for the 3 solid years, carried the mid card of this promotion on his back purposefully. Like
yeah,
he purposefully said very early on, I'm not fighting for the main belt. Why? Because they could separate all the big guns on the card and make every single hour of television matter. And Cody Rhodes took that mid card and made that thing fucking fly. Cody
yeah,
Rhodes told amazing stories in an AEW wrestling ring, and he made guys like MJF, like Sammy Guevara. He made no names to the wrestling community because he was Cody Rhodes, and he came in and he was the persona that we all knew from WWE. Here's Cody, here's Stardust, and he was a different person. Propelled him to the absolute top of the wrestling game so he could go to WWE and take over that promotion, be the number one babyface in the world. That started in AEW. And when I close my eyes, I think about Cody Rhodes, and that stinks that they ever let him go. It was the biggest loss that they ever had. You can throw CM Punk ticket sales in my face. I get that. Cody Rhodes leaving was the biggest loss AEW ever had, and they've never recovered since. Cody's number 2 for me. Bob, who's your number 3?
I like your pick for number 2 a lot. Number 3, I'm gonna go. He hasn't been picked, which is shocking. Is MJF? I'm taking MJF off the board. They have to get MJF. Cody Rhodes' arch nemesis back in the
Yeah.
day. Um,
Yeah.
uh, Pretty much the reason he lost that title, I think, is MJF threw in the towel against Chris Jericho. So you got to take MJF, the American champion. I can't believe there's a name that I don't have on my list that just popped in that I'm writing down now. That if you don't take him, I'm taking him next. So who's your next pick?
Well, no. Like, let's stay on MJF for a second because
Yeah,
MJF is not being built to be in the big main event title shot in All In, and that's okay because he's having an amazing match
yeah,
and this amazing real American gimmick that he's putting on versus Will Ospreay. MJF injured for a while, was the biggest star in the company when he got injured. Now is coming back, sort of building his way back up to
yeah.
the injury here. And again, out of all these names. We didn't talk about Tony Storm building with Mariah May, but I do have to say I really like the way that's being built too. So far, we haven't really gotten to a name that we're not enjoying the build of to All In, right?
No. Everything's been pretty solid so far. MJF versus Will Ospreay. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you at that point.
So then I got to ask, what is going on with why are we not more excited to talk about this week in and week out? It has to be what's going on in the weekly television of Dynamite. We know that pay per view is going to be
Oh,
amazing, but I guess we've just already built to it and we're just waiting for it to arrive. The third pick I'm going to take, Bob, you given me the three fucking world of EVPs, Omega, Cody, and the Young Bucks. When I close my eyes, I think of the Young Bucks in AEW. Again, they might
beautiful
not
one.
be your favorite, but
Oh,
they are AEW. They're the reason
yeah,
why this
yeah.
brand is here. And I've not enjoyed their world versus the Acclaimed. I've not enjoyed their world versus how they haven't really fought FTR. When they have, it's kind of like a no one is allowed to be on top in that feud ever in
Yeah.
AEW. But the Young Bucks overall have put on some of the most memorable matches in AEW, and they're the reason this whole entire thing got moving. I love them. I do love them, and I'd be so angry if they weren't around anymore. So the Young Bucks, I think I'm getting value here with the Young Bucks in the third round.
Yeah, I mean, well, what do they wrestle twice a year now? So not that much value, but yeah, I'm not. The Young Bucks are on my list, but I'm glad you picked them. They do embody, they do embody AEW, but it's too much damage there for me to pick them. So, oh god, now
Who's your fourth pick?
fourth pick. See, I'm not gonna pick CM Punk. Because if we're doing like a draft of like what I would want AEW to be, I would. But I'm picking
Yeah.
like
Like
Christian
what is
Cage.
AEW? Yeah.
Christian Cage pops out because I think his run in AEW has been legendary.
I think it's been special too. He's on my short list.
But
Not my next pick though.
I can't let. Well, there's two people that I can't believe haven't been picked. But I'm gonna pick Will Ospreay now.
Okay.
So I'm
See, he
skipping.
was down on my list because Osprey's awesome, but he's only been there for a cup of coffee. But I mean, you're right. You're right.
I think he's gonna. I view him as AEW's biggest star. Like at almost besides MJF, I think he's their biggest star at the moment. I could be wrong, maybe Danielson, but obviously, but I just feel like Ospreay's their future, and I just want him on whatever we're drafting. I want him on my team. I'm not letting him go to you next pick, so I just got him out of the way. And I feel like you're gonna take the guy I want to take next right now. I feel like you have someone.
Is that guy Hangman Adam Page?
Absolutely
Because that's
not.
the next pick. Absolutely not, Bob.
No.
Bob, this man from the beginning won the Casino Battle Royale, got to fight Chris Jericho for the first ever championship belt that he lost to Chris Jericho. He was the babyface from the first few years. He was the main guy that they put in front of everybody and said, this is the guy you're going to root for coming up from the muck. The Dark Order stupid shit that they had going on.
Oh, yeah.
His stuff with the drinking beer on the sidelines, and then he starts to go crazy and starts to break bad. His stuff with Kenny Omega and the tag championship, fighting against the Elite.
That was great.
Hangman has been involved in so many major storylines in AEW, and that entrance music still slaps, my friend.
Yeah.
Hangman is the number one, in my opinion, the number one babyface in the whole entire company. If we're going off the 5-6 year run, Hangman is it. And I'm surprised he lasted this long. I'm very happy I got pretty much the entire Elite roster here. All the YouTube butt buddies are on my team together.
Yeah.
But Hangman, when you were thinking about AEW, Hangman's on top.
Yeah, it's whatever. I mean, Hangman Page is a star. I wouldn't call him a big star, but he's for AEW. He is.
But he is AEW. That's the thing.
Like
he is. If he was in WWE, he wouldn't get past Ethan Page at NXT. But he is AEW.
So now we're getting into names where we'd pick like it would make more sense to pick like Wardlow because he's been in AEW for longer than this guy. But I don't believe in Wardlow anymore, so I'm not picking him. So like you could have him.
Wardlow wasn't on my list, sadly.
Yeah.
Wardlow was not on my short list here.
I thought Wardlow was going to be one of the biggest stars in wrestling when I first saw him. I'm
I
like,
agree.
yes,
I agree.
yeah. But I'm going with Swerve. I'm taking Swerve now. I'm taking newer stars now because I want to move on from a lot of the stuff that AEW. I'm not taking like, AR Fox or anybody like that. I want, I like Swerve's the current AEW champion. He could be retiring Bryan Danielson in 10 days. He's clearly, they're building around him. I can't,
Yeah.
I said the one thing, like we're talking about the build, this Bryan Danielson Swerve build, I guess we're saying we've liked all the build. We just haven't had enough to talk about because the Swerve and Danielson build's been all right. But yeah, I'm going with Swerve here, taking him off the board. He's the AEW champion, might as well.
Maybe it's because the builds have been there was 1 week where like all these things happened. Mariah May turns on Tony Storm. We see Daniel Bryan win the Owen Hart Class. Like all these things happened at once, and then we kind of knew what the card was, and we've kind of just been moving towards the card. Like no real surprises in the build since then. So maybe that's what we're kind of torn with. But
I don't have anything to say about Hangman Page versus Jay Lethal. That's what the problem is. Like that's was
I couldn't even tell you that was going to be the match. On
that match happened. That match happened last night for 10 minutes.
There you go. Yeah, he's obviously treading water until until we get to Swerve past Daniel Bryan.
Yeah,
my 5th round pick. Again, we're talking about you're taking all the new stars, which is right. I keep on going with the old stars, man, the OGs, because who was the biggest switcheroo in AEW right from the get-go? Yeah, we knew Cody and the Elite were going to be there. We knew Hangman Adam Page were going to be there. We heard about these guys. Maybe MJF on the indie circuits were going to appear in AEW, but who was the biggest name to switch? It was Dean Ambrose. It was John Moxley.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Oh, he wasn't on my list. That's a disaster. I didn't even
because
think that.
Bob, to share something with you that I have not shared in this podcast. You do know I was at the Las Vegas Money in the Bank event where Dean Ambrose won Money in the Bank and cashed in the same night. I was there. I have never enjoyed Dean Ambrose in WWE. Not once, not never. Not once, not never. I thought he was a cartoon. I thought he was terrible. I even remember telling my friends, if you gave me 6 months of training, I could be Dean Ambrose, because that's how unimpressed I was with his work in WWE. That through the ropes, coming back for a clothesline thing, it was all a gimmick. And then John Moxley happened, and it completely changed everything I thought about the man. I think John Moxley is a tremendous, tremendous wrestler, and he is, when there is a John Moxley match on the card, it is so different than any other match on the card, and you truly do not know what's going to happen. He brings a vibe that is completely original and unique. Moxley is AEW, and I'm so happy I have him as my 5th pick. Bob, we're going more. What's your 6th?
All right. I mean, well, she just got suspended, but she is the former AEW champion. I'm taking another female to face Tony Storm. I'm going with Britt Baker. Controversies and all. Pick. Okay. Well, yeah, and a lot of my other picks, I can't believe this. What's sad. I know John Moxley's taking a break right now. Yeah. He doesn't like. They got to build him up again when he comes back. Like he was at one point like the biggest star in the industry for a split second. Yep. And then like it's not the case anymore. And I don't know why he's taking I don't know why he's going to be missing All In or whatever is going on right now. That sucks.
That might be an injury. I'm not sure either. Yeah. He's also had like off the field troubles in his own life, and he's done the right things to get through all that. So maybe he just wants to be a father right now. They do have a raising family, although his wife is at every Dynamite. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure myself. Britt Baker's a great pick, though. Britt Baker's a great pick and was my next pick. But I'll go to the pick right below her. No longer in this company, but still resembles AEW wholeheartedly to me. And Bob, I'm going to do my best impression, but it's Sting! Sting is awesome.
Oh, I thought
Sting is awesome.
I thought you were taking
Tony Schiavone.
I thought you were taking Tony Schiavone. Like, wait a minute, what the fuck?
It's Tony Schiavone doing a Sting. An introing Sting.
It's a hell of a pick to take Schiavone here. There's a lot of big names left on the board. All right.
So we're not taking Schiavone. No, Sting is the pick. because Sting is, it was his final run. It was the
Yeah,
retirement tour. He only wrestled a few times. He had also one of the coolest matches where they had it was him and Darby versus Brian Cage and I think Hobbs. And there was that, in the warehouse, and it was kind of like
yeah,
a cinematic match. I thought that was one of the coolest things AEW's ever done. Sting was awesome in his
yeah.
final run here.
He
He
was.
mattered in every single match he was in, and then all the way to the end. And I also don't think he took a pin in AEW, which is fine by me. Sting was fantastic, and it was a special moment to see Sting finish that way. He ended the thing correctly. Sting is my pick for 6 overall. Let's go to 7, Bob. Who you got?
I didn't take him. Oh shoot. Oh damn. Now I'm torn.
Now he's torn.
Yeah. Oh god. I'm going with FTR. Yeah, they haven't been taken, have they?
They have
FTR.
not, and they did not make my list, Bob. They did
Oh,
not make my short list. I have
I'm,
another
ta- I'm
10
taking them.
names before I get to FTR.
Well, I'm taking them. I'm taking
Why?
FTR because they're the best tag team in the world.
They are.
It's not their fault they don't get booked well.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they don't exactly. But I would take Cesaro too. But have we seen Cesaro in AEW at all?
All right.
No.
Well, I was
FTR is
torn
awesome.
between FTR and Christian Cage. Christian Cage, to me, his run is, I mean, he's going to be remembered most likely more for WWE. Obviously, he was there for decades, but his run in AEW has been excellent. But just write FTR for me. Makes sense. How many more names do you have on your? Have you given your 7th yet? No.
No, you just gave FTR, and you'll give Christian as your 8th because I'll let you have Christian. Christian was definitely on my short list. My
Okay.
next 2 picks, and then we'll both make one final pick to end this with 9 because that's what every show does is end things with 9. But you gave FTR and Christian, and my next 2 picks, yeah, they're going to be Chris Jericho. Sadly, the first ever AEW champion. Again, the guy's been there since the beginning. He
Yeah.
legally has to be in every pay-per-view, and some of them have been great. Some moments for Chris Jericho have been great. The Jericho Appreciation Society, not so much. But you have to say, those first 2 factions that Jericho had, he did make some new wrestlers in those factions, and
Yeah.
he did make people matter with those factions just by being in the ring with them. Could he have put more people over along the way? Sure. But when you think of AEW, you got to think of their first ever champion, and that is Chris Jericho. He comes in at 7th. Bob's 7th pick was FTR. Bob's 8th pick was Christian. My 8th pick is Orange Cassidy, a guy that I saw for the first time in the Battle Royal against guys like Club Soda and whatever else the other people's names were. And Orange Cassidy comes in and starts doing those kicks where he doesn't move at all, and the crowd's going crazy. And I'm like, what the F is this? And he has turned into one of the coolest wrestlers in the not only the promotion but in any promotion. Orange Cassidy is a workhorse in AEW, and I never thought he would be. He deserves every spot he's in, and he deserves a vacation every now and again. Orange Cassidy's 8th for me. Chris Jericho's 7th. Bob, your last pick in what embodies AEW?
Well, have you taken Jack Perry?
I have not.
Oh fuck! I'll take Jungle Man Jack Perry here, TNT champion. I will take him. I'm not going to take CM Punk. It doesn't make sense on this list. But Jack Perry's obvious. It makes sense. He's been there from the beginning. He's one of the pillars. I have a few names I want to just run by you after. So give me your name. What do you have?
No, Jack Perry's great. That's 3 of the 4 pillars have been drafted, and honestly, Sammy Guevara is on my list. He could have been the 4th pillar if we were going longer. I would have drafted him.
He's in Ring of Honor now, so he's disqualified.
Brian Danielson also on my short list here. Not going to be the guy I drafted. Thunder Rosa also on my short list here. Not going to be the person I drafted. Eddie Kingston is probably the next pick.
Yeah.
If I'm not taking the person I'm about to take, Eddie Kingston's probably the next pick. I think he has embodied AEW wholeheartedly and has truly been a difference maker in that company. And of course, Tony Khan, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur are on my short list just in case I ran out of names because, they do kind of embody AEW. But the name I'm going to draft, and the last name that's on my short list here, and it's a tag team. It's Rey Fenix and Penta. Penta El Cerro Miedo, however you say his name. When AEW opened up to bring in these 2 guys that you saw mostly in Lucha Underground, and to see the feuds that they could have with the Young Bucks and everyone else on this roster, it definitely was a different flavor of wrestling. And I think Rey Fenix especially is one of the best wrestlers in the entire world. and they constantly put these guys in matches as sort of workhorses, as good hands, and never really gave them the true run, especially in singles competition, that I believe they definitely deserved in AEW. What Penta did in Lucha Underground, he never reached the same level of what he could do in AEW, and that's a failure by AEW. What Ray Phoenix did in Lucha Underground, he never reached the same level of what he could do in AEW, and that's a failure by AEW. And the biggest rumor right now is that these two guys are WWE bound, NXT bound. And I wish them all the luck in the world, because in that promotion especially, I think they can be difference makers and a different version of what WWE has to offer, especially in that in out of their masked wrestlers and their luchadors and everything else. Those two guys are different breeds, man, and I
Yeah.
think they can succeed in WWE. But in AEW, they should have mattered more, and they should have been higher on this list. And it's a failure by AEW to have them no longer there. Bob, as we wrap this up, in the state of AEW, I think that encapsulates all of it. We said a bunch of great effing names here and a bunch of great memories that we've had watching this promotion together as we're building to the biggest match that they have, the biggest card pay-per-view that they have. And some of these guys have huge feuds on that card that we're looking forward to. But guys like Ray Phoenix and Penta and Jay White and all these
Oh,
other names that have been left to the side
Wardlow.
don't get the shine and the build that we want them to see in AEW, and kind of get just sort of flop around. And
Takeshita.
that, I think, is the state of AEW, man.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's some of the names I had on my list who I think are just wasting away in a is Takeshita. Like they had him beat Kenny
Don
Omega and
Callis
now
was on my list too. Yeah.
like he's so good they don't do anything with him though. It's very frustrating. Takeshita,
Yeah.
he's like an excellent wrestler and they're not doing anything with him. I also had Kyle Fletcher as like a name of the future that I was thinking of, and Nick Wayne, the great Nick Wayne. He's what, 19 now? They've had him since he was 16. Like those are the future. Those are going to be the names. Hopefully, if this podcast is still going in 6 years, those are going to be the names that are big. Nick Wayne and Kyle Fletcher.
Well,
But
you just reminded me of a failure that we've made.
what?
We've forgotten a name that should be a lot higher on this list, probably around the Swerve, John Moxley draft picks. But that's Brody Lee.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's yeah. He was
Brody
like
Lee definitely embodied the first few years of AEW while he was
his
around, man.
his rivalry with Cody Rhodes with the TNT title was great. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, we missed
But
him.
that's it.
I didn't have Cody Rhodes on my list. He does
Wow.
embody AEW though. It just Cody Rhodes and CM Punk leaving was like unbelievable to me. But Cody Rhodes is the biggest thing that happened to AEW. Him jumping ship, and that was during Vince McMahon's era. Don't forget that. He had a conversation, sit down conversation with Vince McMahon and decided to leave for Vince McMahon, not for Triple H. That hadn't happened yet. So it's shocking.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But that's it for the AEW draft and the state of AEW. I think that was a good exercise, man. And I think